into 23andMe now face seeing their genetic information sold to the highest bidder. It's all part of the company's bankruptcy. A 23andMe spokeswoman said in an email that customers can delete their data within their account and don't need to contact customer care to do so. The rise of generative AI like ChatGPT poses a real threat to Google's search business. Google is trying to integrate generative AI into its search product, but this has brought new challenges and risks, including the impact on websites that rely on Google for traffic. Some web creators report a decline in traffic and revenue. Wall Street saw one of its best sessions of the year to kick off the week. With signs trade sanctions will be narrower than feared, the Dow rose 1.4% or almost 600 points. The S&P 500 jumped by about 1.75%. The Nasdaq surged by just over 2.25%. Gina Cervetti, Bloomberg Radio.
Louisiana's moving forward. Crime rates are tumbling. Education, our best test scores ever. Governor Landry announced the largest jobs and economic growth project in Louisiana history, 10+ billion private sector dollars. Now we keep Louisiana moving forward with a yes vote on Amendment 2, March 29th. Amendment 2 permanently lowers the maximum income tax rate. It pays down debt and gives our teachers a permanent salary increase. It keeps the homestead exemption and exemptions for religious organizations. Amendment 2 doubles the senior citizen tax deduction. And Amendment 2 builds on Governor Landry's efforts stopping unneeded spending with a permanent government growth limit. Let's keep Louisiana moving forward by voting yes on Amendment 2. Paid for by Make Louisiana Great Again.
If you'd like to take part in the show today, call the BOM Bank Talk line at 442-8255. That's 442-TALK. And remember, if you're looking to purchase or refinance your home, call Christina Bagwell at the BOM Bank Mortgage Department at 448-2430.
In Talkback, 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO.
And we're back. Sandra McQueen, Nathan Martin. So we were talking about Governor Landry being in Washington for the big announcement on the Hyundai plant yesterday. But on top of that, Louisiana was also in the news because we had a hearing before the U.S. Supreme Court related to the congressional districts and how they were drawn, and won't be a ruling till June. Most of the reporting said the court was pretty split on how they should be involved, whether they should be involved in redistricting, and that, partisan redistricting is legal. Racial it's hard for the courts to interfere on political gerrymandering, but when it comes to sort of racial gerrymandering or even just sort of districts that sort of are just so spread out like that one, maybe they take a look at it. So don't know where that's going to go, but it's been interesting because the state and legal defense fund groups that are usually on opposite sides of the equation were both advocating for keeping the district as drawn.
That's a really interesting debate. And I had heard one of the national reports, emphasize that Louisiana is 1/3 Black, so therefore it should be representative. But, the Supreme Court has previously said that you can't use strictly race. So I wonder, are they going to fall down party lines on the Supreme Court? Are they going to, you said they're kind of evenly divided?
They're trying to figure out whether they even want to get in the middle of all these election issues. And so I think that was sort of part of Justice Thomas. I haven't haven't read in depth on this, but anyway, it was evidently the reporting is the court seemed of two minds. So we'll see. The ruling will come out in June, which is only barely a year out from the election, right? Especially with the new primary system. So it would be just about 13 months from the primaries.
And they would definitely have to move quickly because every 2 years you've got that, statewide, not statewide, but essentially all of the seats up for grabs in the House. So that's got to be done quickly. Yeah.
And, and I said there, I don't know when will our primaries be August with general elections in November? Or are they going to be primaries November and generals in December? I actually don't know.
That's a great question.
Yeah. I said 13 months, but I just assumed wrongly that we would be like other states and kind of have an August, November timeframe. So that in either way, it's going to be 13 to 15 months before that election. So, What else, Nathan? So we were talking about this morning, and I thought this was very interesting. We're talking about the.
It is October, November, according to the Secretary of State.
Okay, so there we go. That's all right. So that's how it'll be. You and I were talking just about just different business news when we were looking at all these reports, and you mentioned 23andMe, and that your wife had gone through that process.
She did. You know, a lot of folks are familiar with the Ancestry or Ancestor.com. I can't remember if it's Ancestor or Ancestry. They do a big one. They probably have the biggest DNA mapping out there. But 23andMe came along, and they were offering some extra things that the other one didn't. It had to do with more like medical testing and seeing if you had certain markers. And because, you know, breast cancer is in my wife's family, she wanted to know if she had that genetic marker. So she did the 23andMe, and thankfully it came back as not having that marker. But it was absolutely fascinating, the things that it said medically about her, which are true, and then to look at her history, her family, where they came from, and you know the parts of Europe that we are descended from, that she is descended from. It was absolutely fascinating. So but now she's got to go delete her data because you don't know what's going to happen. They filed bankruptcy, and who's going to end up with that data, and what would they do with it?
Exactly. So if you did go through that process of 23andMe, they are encouraging you to go ahead and delete your accounts, delete your data, because you do not know what's going to happen in a bankruptcy hearing. And as you said, who may eventually own the company and what happens to the data. But I know a lot of people that did it for health reasons and just, you know, that are genealogy sort of nerds and did it for that purpose. And then you had people that would also file that in the attempt to maybe they were adopted and trying to find family. And so, I mean, it was a really interesting service.
Yeah, my dad has used, like, again, I mentioned the Ancestry DNA. He's actually had people contact him that say that they're distant cousins of his and they're trying to find, you know, a relative. And he's put people together through his family. And, you know, he's encouraged me to do it. I haven't done it. My dad did it, and my brother did it, and my mom did it. I figure, well, between all y'all, I know everything I need to know about me. But, of course, DNA is very specific. You know, that's why my brother and I don't look anything alike, because we do have different strands of DNA. But it is absolutely fascinating. And my dad, who is a huge genealogy buff, I mean, he's got over 5,000 names in his family tree going back to the 1700s, and he just loves this kind of stuff. But he didn't do the 23andMe marker side, so I think he's okay on that. But there are instructions online on how, if you did do the 23andMe, there were over 15 million customers that did that. There are instructions online on how to delete it, and you probably want to do that because you just don't know what's going to happen through the bankruptcy sale. That becomes an asset of the company and will be liquidated, I'm sure, at some point to try to pay off their debts.
Absolutely. No, you would absolutely think that. So just, yeah, again, if you've done that, and where online did you go to find that?
I just searched how to delete 23andMe data. And, you know, there's a ton of websites that so CBS News, it's a headline on CBS. So I just Googled how to delete your 23andMe data.
Perfect. No, that's a good public service announcement. And why don't we take our next break? And when we come back, I'd sat in on the Public Affairs Research Council did a legislative preview yesterday. So I'll break down a little bit of what I heard from that conversation.
KSYL.
Hi, this is Pete with Pro Carpet and Duct Cleaning. We've successfully cleaned air ducts for over 30 years, and we've proven to our customers that we can reduce the dust in your home up to 75% and make 35% more air come out of your vents, which lowers your utility bill and makes your central air unit 90% less likely to fail. Doesn't your family deserve clean air?
For a cleaner, healthier home, call 445-4818.
Attention all real estate agents, property owners, and lenders. When you or a client needs a real estate attorney, call the professionals at Thompson Law Firm. Whether the legal matter is basic or complex, the Thompson Law Firm can accurately guide you or your client to a successful outcome. That's why numerous industry professionals have trusted the Thompson Law Firm for years. They also handle estate planning, successions, and business law. Call them at 473-0052. I am a paid non-client attorney spokesperson.
Hey, basketball fans, if you bet during March Madness, gamble responsibly. Set and stick to a money limit. Remember, you're paying to play a game. If you have a gambling problem, free help is available 24/7. Call or text the Louisiana Problem Gamblers Helpline at 1-877-770-STOP or chat online at helpforgambling.org. A message from the Louisiana Department of Health Office of Behavioral Health.
970 AM. 9 happen. KSYO. To take part of the show, call 442-8255. That's 442 Talkback.
And we're back. Before I jump into some of the legislative overview yesterday, you mentioned you got a press release from Sandra Bonnet and some nice news for Louisiana.
Absolutely. Sandra Bonnet's our registrar of voters, and she sent this over yesterday from Secretary of State Nancy Landry's office that shared that Louisiana is now ranked number 2 in the nation for election integrity by the Heritage Foundation. Previously, they were ranked 9th. And so the changes that they're making, which include, and the categories they use include voter ID, absentee ballot management, vote counting practices, verification of citizenship, all of those things. Louisiana is, I mean, it's so nice to be at the top of a list for a change instead of at the bottom. And so kudos to them. I appreciate Sandra Bonnet sharing that. Now, they have started procuring a new voting system. And I heard Sandra, this was in I don't know, really a private conversation, just a informal conversation. The new system is going to have paper ballot backup for every single vote. So there will be a way to hand tally votes on the new system, which a lot of people feel like you need to have that verification process. So they're moving in that direction. And kudos, though, to all the whole work. I think all of us, in Louisiana feel proud when we get that I voted sticker, because we do feel like our integrity is there. There have been a couple of challenges in the last 2 or 3 years, and they've all come out dead on. There was a 2-vote difference in Baton Rouge out of like almost 40,000 votes.
Remember that for a judge or something, yes.
Right? I think it was 2 votes difference. And when they did the recount, no change. And there have been some local recounts on smaller numbers that were closer, still no change. And so it just really reinforces your belief in our election system. And kudos to Sandra and her team there here in Rapides Parish, and to Nancy Landry, the Secretary of State for said was and look, and to those who went before, who set it up, right? I mean, you mentioned a while ago that process for that plant was at least a 15-month process, and so that began in other administrations. And you want to be able to give credit where credit is due, and it makes you feel good about the direction the state is going.
Yeah, no, Kyle Ardoin was a great Secretary of State, and I think Nancy Landry is going to be very good as well. We've been very fortunate in that respect here. Yeah,
Kyle's still working in the governor's office now, and just a congenial fella. If you know him, if you've ever met him, he's just a convivial fella, nice guy, but he takes his job seriously, and he now works a lot with municipalities. So I get to bump into him from time to time with stuff like that.
Nice. And then you were also mentioning the Rapides Area Planning Commission is changing their schedule. So explain that, but then also explain why people should maybe care about RAPC.
Okay, that's a great question.
Entity that we hear about, but maybe we don't understand its impact.
Yeah, so the Rapides Area Planning Commission has several different functions, one of which is to approve subdivisions, large-scale manufacturing or retail centers. It also oversees the permitting, the floodplains management. It oversees building inspections, whether it's electrical, plumbing, or general contracting. And so they have a lot of functions. They administer a lot of grants, a lot of highway and federal traffic safety planning. They do a lot of stuff with pedestrian and bike trails. So it's a planning commission, very broad based. And so they meet once a month, and for years and years, it's been on the 4th Tuesday of the month at 3 p.m. And at last month's meeting, or 2 months ago, I forget which, there was a discussion about changing it. And after discussion and laying over and people having a chance to give input, it's now going to be on the 4th Wednesday of the month at 11 a.m. So this week is the first time it changes. Normally, I would go this afternoon at 3, but I'll be going tomorrow at 11. And like I was noticing in the email that came in with the agenda, there's actually a couple of subdivisions that are on the agenda for tomorrow to be considered. One of them is Corner Creek Estates on Indian Creek Road. This 13 duplex units in Woodworth. Another one is Riviera Rouge RV Park in the Poland community with 36 RV spaces. And those are the 2 that are on the plan for development review tomorrow. But, there's also the big one, the Browns Bend development that D.R. Horton was thinking to bring in. The biggest meeting I've ever attended with the most people there. They actually had to move it to a larger building because there were so many people that were there. and the RAPC denied the development of that D.R. Horton development, partly because of the traffic problems on Browns Bend where it comes into MacArthur Drive, right there by Tractor Supply. It's already a very big nightmare. And so the RAPC held off on approving that. But the number of people that were there who live in that area, who came to speak out, that's what you need to know about when these meetings are so that you can speak out on stuff that could affect you.
Absolutely. Now, their jurisdiction, is it, I know they don't have a jurisdiction over England, but do they have the rest of the parish, or does Alexandria manage their own projects, or how does it?
Alexandria manages their own. They have their own planning division, but every other municipality depends on RAPC.
Or an unincorporated area.
And the entire parish, that's correct. They also have a phenomenal online GIS mapping system. So if you want to go to www.rapc.info, I use it a lot. They have lots of layers. They imagery for the whole parish. You can, on most of the cities, you can see zoning. You can see district maps for the council members or alderpersons. You can see the congressional seats, the legislative seats, the senator seats. I mean, their GIS is really, really good. Jamie Wallace, who runs that for RAPC, does a great job of keeping it up to date. So that's just one of the services, another of the many services they provide. Now, their building inspection program actually covers multiple parishes. They do it in, I don't remember all of them, but it's like Grant, LaSalle, Rapides, Wynn. They cover a lot of parishes who have come under have contracted with them. They also oversee a rural transportation program. It's not in Rapides Parish. I'm hoping it will be, but it's in Grant and Natchitoches, I believe, where people can make a phone call and have a van come pick them up and take them to a doctor's office or, just go shopping or whatever for a nominal fee. So tremendous amount of resources that the RAPC provides. Matt Johns is their executive director, and he's doing a really bang-up job of modernizing and streamlining and bringing the program forward.
We need to try. We'll try to get Matt in here in the near future, and because what their work is really fascinating. They apply for grants, and they're just a very interesting organization. I enjoyed working with them when I was at England, just as a sister agency.
Did y'all ever use? Because some people would use their services, like to consult with.
No, because we have overlays with airports. So our zoning's a little different out there. So, well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and take our next break, and when we come back, I expect we will have Senator Kennedy on the line, and we'll get to the legislative stuff on Friday.
Sounds good.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
The cost of air travel is more than just the ticket price. It's also fuel, meals, lodging, parking, and time. The more we fly AEX, the better our chances of bringing back flights to Houston and Charlotte. Support AEX and help our community grow. Find your true cost at local.flyaex.org.
Your teeth are in need of a little dental work, but you're putting it off. Why? Could it be you can't stand the thought of wearing old-timey adhesive-filled dentures? Is it the high cost of dental implants? Or is it just the concept of having a dentist poking around inside your mouth? Whatever your reason, today's Dental in Pineville has it covered. And with hundreds of smiling, satisfied patients, they've made getting implants amazingly simple, low anxiety, and affordable for everyone. And with calming in-office IV sedation administered by a highly skilled certified nurse anesthetist, your anxiety will all but slip away. Plus, their multiple finance options make implants truly affordable. So why wait? If you're looking to replace your old-timey denture with permanent implants, give today's Dental on Highway 28 East in Pineville a call at 448-4540. It's a general dental facility owned by Dr. Jonas Goche. 448-4540.
970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO. Now back to Talkback.
And we're back, and joining us on the phone is Senator John Kennedy. Good morning, Senator Kennedy.
Good morning.
We are so glad to have you with us. Thank you for taking a few minutes. Lots happening in Washington. I know you were on your way back as the Hyundai announcement was happening and that you spoke with the president last night, but what a big win for our state.
Yes, I was very pleased. I was sorry I couldn't be there. I was in Louisiana, and then grabbed a plane to get back to vote last night. But I talked to the president last night about, I don't know, 5:30 or 6 my time, and he worked hard to convince Hyundai to do this, and I really want to thank him. I think it's going to mean about, I don't know, 1,300, 1,500 jobs for Louisiana, and they'll be pretty good jobs, and that doesn't include the construction jobs. Those are permanent jobs that I just talked about. So I want to thank the president so much for helping us.
Absolutely. Wanted to catch up with us today was the president signed, I guess, about a week ago, a Congressional Review Act related to oil, energy, offshore drilling on the the continental shelf. So can you explain to us sort of what that act does and why it was so important to Louisiana?
Yes, I passed a bill to get rid of one of President Biden's regulations on oil and gas. The average electricity bill for the average American under President Biden went up 28%. And part of the reason is that the Biden administration hated oil and gas, and they hit them with all these rules and regulations that increased the costs of the oil and natural gas. One of them had to do with, it's kind of technical, but we've been drilling wells in the Gulf since 1938. The oil companies have x-rayed the entire seabed to make sure when they put a platform down that it's stable. And in doing so, they have found like 4,000 shipwrecks. So we know where every shipwreck is in the Gulf. On his way out the door, President Biden passed a regulation that turned to the oil and gas industry and said, even though you've x-rayed the entire bed once, you got to do it again. Well, that adds like anywhere from $200,000 to $1 million to the cost of a well. It's pointless. We know where all the shipwrecks are. It was just some of Biden's people who hate oil and gas. So we meaning the Senate and the House, I sponsored a bill. We got rid of the reg. It passed the House. The president signed it. In fact, I went over to the White House and watched him sign it. And that's what we did.
Well, congratulations on getting that passed. That's sometimes easier said than done in the Senate and the House. So congratulations on that.
It doesn't look like you used an auto pen, Senator, to sign that. No,
I watched him sign it. He invited me to come over, and he sat at his desk, and I watched him sign it. So it's legal.
Absolutely. Another thing that you have been working on and wanted to discuss, something that's near and dear to my heart because my wife is actually from McAllen, Texas, is the number of border crossings that has really dramatically trended downward under President Trump, and kind of almost mirroring the approval numbers of some of the congressional Democrats. Give us your thoughts on how you see that change in just the first 3 months of the year.
Well, we've secured the border. I mean, there are one or two folks slipping through, but it's like night and day down there. The Democrats are upset. They support open borders, and for 4 years we had open borders. Something like 12 million foreign nationals came into our country. Some probably good people, some bad people. We added, think of it this way, we added so many people, it would be like adding 4 Nebraskas to the United States. And we don't know who these people are. But step one was to stop it. And the president has stopped it. And he did it pretty quickly. Step two is to try to find the bad people first and get them out of the country. The president started with gang members, as you've seen from the news, but not just gang members, other criminals. And the courts were having to fight the courts. But we'll end up winning most of those court battles. And it's going to take a while because about 12 million people came in. We've also got to find out who these people are and where they are and how many of them are children and how many of the children are being sex trafficked. I mean, the Biden administration and my Democratic colleagues did a lot of damage over 4 years. It'll take a while to fix it, but we're off to a good start.
It's really hard for the average person to understand how a judge could consider ordering the return of, for example, the Venezuelans that were shipped off to, I believe, El Salvador. It's really hard for the average person to understand how the Democratic leadership could advocate for retaining illegals in America. Am I completely disconnected from sanity in saying that, or what?
No. The Democrats believe in open borders, and some of the Democrats think, not all of them, but some of them think that vetting people at the border is racist. That anybody who wants to come into America should be able to come into America, and that if you want to know who's coming into America for, say, national security reasons, you're a racist. Other Democrats see the political advantage of it. They think if they let all these folks in, they can convince them to vote for Democrats because it's the Democrats who let them in, which is a pretty cynical approach to America's future. But, that's the way it is in Washington.
Well, it also, I'm sorry.
The good news is American people said, no, we're sick of this. And they elected President Trump. And we've secured that border now. And it didn't take, I knew it wouldn't take long. All we did was go back to doing what we were doing the day before Joe Biden took office.
Well, I read the news in McAllen and the Rio Grande Valley frequently, and the headlines in January and February were from Border Patrol agents grateful that they're free to do their job now. And that's really what it boiled down to, is they were given permission to do their job.
Well, the American people, they're pretty practical and fair-minded about this. American people, they don't, look at it this way. Most Americans lock their front door at night. They don't lock their front door at night because they hate everybody on the outside. They lock their front door at night because they love the people on the inside of their house, and they want to know who's coming inside and outside of their house. And that's the way they see the southern border. They don't hate everybody who wants to come to America. We welcome about 1 million people legally a year to come to America. They just want to know who's coming in. And all the people who came in were not bad people, but a lot of them really were. I mean, we're talking gang members, rapists, drug dealers, child traffickers, and we don't know who they are, where they are. President Biden just threw open the door. And then he, frankly, lied to the American people about it. He said, I'm doing the best I can. We're trying. It's hard. They weren't trying. I mean, I went down there several times. I saw it. People were just like, come on in. Come on in. But anyway, we've secured it, and now we're trying to get rid of the bad apples, get them out of America.
Absolutely. Well, I know we only have about a minute left with you, but I did want to get to the budget. I know you all have passed continuing resolution. I think that gets you to the end of this fiscal year, but what's on the horizon to pass a budget and deal with the pending, you've got tax cut renewals that are on the horizon, military spending. Kind of give us an idea of what we're going to see.
To get these high prices down, we've got to do three things. We've got to reduce government spending. We've got to get rid of rules and regulations that make goods more expensive. And we've got to design a tax code that looks like somebody designed it on purpose. The last one that I mentioned is the bill we're working on. The Democrats are fighting us every step of the way. We won't get a single Democratic vote because they believe that Americans ought to just shut up and do what they're told and send all their money and freedom to Washington. And my Democratic colleagues will tell them how to run their lives. And I don't think that's what most Americans want.
So, well, thank you for that, Senator Kennedy. The music is on, which means the top of the hour is upon us. Thank you, as always, for being generous with your time. I apologize to our callers we couldn't get to you this morning with our short segment. But, Senator, thank you for what you do for the state of Louisiana, and we'll look forward to having you on the show again soon.
We'll do it. Thanks, guys.
You've been listening to Talkback. The opinions expressed were those of the hosts and callers, and not necessarily those of Senlaw Broadcasting. FM 104.9, AM 970, KSYL, and KRRV 100.3 HD3, Alexandria. It's 8 o'clock. Is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. We're expecting tough questions for top Trump administration officials at a hearing on Capitol Hill today. after a journalist was accidentally looped into text messages on high-level plans to attack Houthi rebels in Yemen. The Atlantic's editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg.
I assumed that someone was playing a hoax, playing a trick.
It turned out to be real.
I inadvertently discovered a massive security breach in the way the national security establishment conducts its business.
CBS's Natalie Brand is at the White House.
The National Security Council said that these messages seem to be authentic. A spokesman again saying that they were reviewing how this happened, but also in the statement to CBS said the success of the operation demonstrates that there were no threats to service members or national security.
The White House insists there was no classified material in the thread. The Trump administration is promising a crackdown on what it calls coordinated attacks on Teslas across the country, protesting Elon Musk's role in the administration. CBS News has learned U.S. intelligence suggests they are the work of lone actors. A bulletin from the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI says there have been incidents in at least 9 states involving arson, gunfire, and vandalism. West Virginia's just become the first state to ban most artificial food dyes that add bright colors to breakfast cereals, packaged snacks, baked goods, and candies. CBS's Nancy Chen.
In a statement, West Virginia's Governor Patrick Morrisey, he said, "We're taking steps toward improving the health of our residents and protecting our children from significant long-term health and learning challenges."
Research shows a possible link between the colorings and increased hyperactivity and other behavioral problems. A French actor says he may be a brute, but he's no abuser.
Taking the stand for the first time, Gerard Depardieu told the court he was nothing like the man described by the 2 women who accuse him of sexual assault. "I don't see why I would grope a woman, her buttocks, her breasts," he said. "I'm not somebody who rubs himself up against people on the metro." A set designer and assistant producer say he groped them forcefully and hurled sexist insults while they were shooting a film in Paris in 2021. Elaine Cobb, CBS News, Paris.
This is March 25th. Day working women in the U.S. finally catch up to what their male counterparts earned in all of last year. Deborah Vagans heads the nonprofit Equal Rights Advocates Group.
The pay gap is even more severe when you look at women of color.
Overall, the National Women's Law Center finds women earn just 83 cents for every dollar earned by men. S&P futures up 16. This is CBS News.
A riddle brought to you by Progressive Insurance. What do your home and auto have in common? Progressive protects them both. It was an easy riddle. Learn more at Progressive.com.
Let's see, if something costs less, a lot less, but people are actually happier with it, that sounds like something to look into. And that's MetaShare. Maybe you've heard joining MetaShare can save you or your family up to $500 a month, and that's huge. But it's also true, people are just happier with it. They love being part of something that reflects and promotes their values and what they believe in. MetaShare works too. It's been around for 30 years now, and members have shared more than $7 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care, whether you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan that you're happy with. Here you go. You can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes, a very, very short use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. It's 877-26-BIBLE. That's 877-26-BIBLE. 877-26-BIBLE.
Louisiana Radio Network, I'm Sean Burns. Hyundai makes a major investment in Louisiana.
So like they're great,
Hyundai announces it's building a $5.8 billion steel plant in Ascension Parish. In an announcement at the White House yesterday, President Trump says the plant will bring manufacturing back to the U.S.
Supplying
steel for auto parts and auto plants in Alabama and Georgia, which will soon produce more than 1 million American-made cars every single year.
This will be Hyundai's first steel plant in North America and will create 1,300 direct jobs with salaries averaging $95,000 a year. The new plant will go up in Donaldsonville, and construction is slated to begin in the third quarter of next year. I'm Colleen Crane. The Lady Tigers are headed back to the Sweet 16. They beat Florida State 107-71 last night, even though they trailed at the end of the first half. Coach Kim Mulkey said bench players like Jada Richard really came through when the team needed them.
My mindset was just honestly to be fearless, and whatever way I can impact the game. When I saw opportunities to score, I just took it, and the ball went in.
LRN.
The value of experienced leadership cannot be overstated in the clerk of court's office. Progressing through the ranks, Karen Corley is the most qualified to be the next clerk of court for Rapides Parish.
With 37 years of service, I am dedicated to safeguarding our elections, keeping crucial evidence safe, and streamlining access to public documents both online and in person. I'd be honored to have your vote.
Let's keep what's clearly working. Karen Corley, our clerk of court.
Paid for by Karen Corley, clerk of court.
Good morning. Some areas of fog to start us out this morning. That'll burn.
I don't know how.
It looks like a good day.
Maybe. Thank you. I'm glad to
86 for the afternoon high. Winds will be light and variable. Now tonight, clear skies down to 59 for the overnight low.
No,
and our
don't worry.
Wednesday, mixture of sunshine and clouds.
You made me think about how today is Rich's birthday.
Looks like cloudy skies for us.
We're 5 days apart, but
That's your forecast from the Senla Broadcasting Weather Center. I'm Dave Gratian. Currently 62 degrees in Senla.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics. With 27 providers and 3 locations, someone can see you today.
It's Talkback, Central Louisiana's longest-running talk show. Whether it's the guests or the callers, Talkback is where Central Louisiana begins its conversation.
3 seconds left on the clock. LSUA tries to inbound underneath the board. They get it in, catch that. It's good. Okay. Sorry, I just had to do that. Sorry.
Took me right back to all of our games this year.
All the games this year. I had the great joy this year of getting to do the play-by-play announcing for the LSUA basketball men's and women's streaming, and got to work with the gentleman who's our next guest this morning, Tyler Unsicker, the athletic director for LSUA, is our guest today on the LSUA segment. Tyler, good morning and welcome, and glad to have you in the studio again.
Good morning. Thanks for having us. I have to give a shout out to Nathan. He did an awesome job as our play-by-play, and I got several people complimenting him and our great broadcast that we have, and it's a lot more fun to do it for winning teams for sure.
There's no
Men's
doubt.
and women had a great year, and you did a great job calling.
Well,
So thank you.
I appreciate that. I wasn't fishing for compliment, but I'll be glad to catch that one. And the compliments go to both the men and the women who had incredible seasons this year, both advancing to the national tournament, which is a big deal to have both of them do it. And the men went to the Final 8 and had that heartbreaking loss just a couple nights ago. You were there for that, but the final season, if I recall, is it 30-3 was the overall record for the Generals?
I think that's exactly what it was, and that's an incredible accomplishment. And to only lose 3 times all year, and you go out there and they were a top 10 team all year. And so every time they went out on the floor, everybody was shooting for them. That was their Super Bowl. That was their final, to be able to play against that top team, and everybody was trying to knock them off. And so for them to have that kind of a year and to make it to Kansas City and be in the Final 8 was pretty impressive.
What was the electricity like in Kansas City? Was it because sometimes you have, like at the Red River Athletic Conference, you have them at Rapides Parish Coliseum, which can seat 6,000-7,000 people, and there's a couple hundred people there. Was it like that, or was the dynamic of being the national tournament overcoming? I don't know how big the crowd was there.
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at the tradition, we've had basketball at LSUA for 10 or 11 years, and we had a great run where they used to have all 32 teams that made the tournament would go to Kansas City, and so for our first 7-8 years as a team, we were there, and then had a lull for 3 or 4 years and hadn't been back. So since I've been here, we haven't been to Kansas City, and I wasn't sure what that was going to be like. They play in the municipal auditorium right in downtown Kansas City, and as you go in there, it's really just an old building, but it's kind of cool. It has some unique architecture to it. So you walk in there, and Kansas City does a really good job of supporting this event. And I was talking to some other athletic directors that had teams there, and they've been coming for years, and they have people that that's their vacation. Every third week in March, they're going to be in Kansas City, whether their team's in it or not.
Oh, wow.
So they just like to go enjoy that brand of basketball. And so it was a lot of people, and some of the schools were a lot closer than others. Some people had had a lot of one school had their band and their cheerleaders there, so they were only an hour away. And it's just a fun environment, and it's pretty neat to be in that all 16 teams in one place, and they do a really good job of putting on the tournament, and our guys did a really good job and stayed focused, and just ran into a buzzsaw, and the team that they ended up losing to won last night is now in the final tonight. So Not that you ever want to have a good loss, but I mean, obviously that team's just playing really well.
If you lose to the national champions, you feel like at least you were right there.
That's exactly right. And one of the other Final Four teams is a team that we had beat earlier in the year that had won it last year. And so, just really super proud of Coach Jackson and the guys, and they really played hard. And so they came back. We all came back Sunday, and Monday morning I'm back in there, and they're all going to class. And so I was proud of them for not just shutting down. Right, they're not just athletes; they're student athletes.
I want to talk about the student athlete achievements, but before I do, we have to give kudos to Coach Demario Jackson, Red River Athletic Conference Coach of the Year, 2 years in a row. Right, which is I don't know if that's unheard of, but his first year in the conference was last year, and then to get it back to back. That's quite an accomplishment and probably helps with the recruiting.
Oh, for sure. No, Coach Jackson does a fantastic job, and I talked to him at length about just the growing and learning, and he has just kind of surpassed everything. He just jumped in, and we had a conversation when we got here, and I was like, look, I get things going, get it moving, and he surpassed everything and has been more than we had expected, and we're super happy and super proud of him.
And then senior Cashy Nat gets to be the RRAC Player of the Year and the Defensive Player of the Year, if I recall, the MVP in the conference tournament.
Yes.
I mean, what a phenomenal young man.
Cashy has done an amazing job, and this is the second year in a row that he's been the Conference Player of the Year, and I mean, every night he's getting double teams, and he's getting everybody's best defender, and they're right in front of him. They pick this during the tournament. People were picking him up as soon as we inbounded the ball and trying to make him not even be able to touch it. So they obviously recognized his great talent and abilities. But Cashy's also just a great kid and a great person, and he'll graduate in 2 months and be the first person in his family to graduate. And so just all the things he's been able to accomplish. I mean, on the basketball court's been amazing, but even just off, he's just an enjoyable kid to be around, which makes it a lot more fun to be around.
Absolutely. But your women also had some pretty big success.
They were awesome. Yep. So Coach Billy Perkins in his third year, and we had a big group of seniors that were coming through this year that had been with the program for 4 and even 5 years. And they fought all year. They had a couple injuries that kind of slowed them down in the middle, but they were able to regroup and played really well, made it to the championship game in our conference tournament and had it tied down, ended up losing by 3 with 15 seconds to go, but super proud of them. And they made it to the NAI national tournament, which is a really big feat. I mean, that's not something that just happens every year. And so both teams were fun to watch, just a lot of good kids. And in the end, I mean, I want to win as much as anybody else does, but we want to do it with good kids that are working hard. And for me, that's the most important thing that we talk about and that we discuss and that we work with our kids is being good people. And for me, that's what I enjoy most about my job.
Absolutely. Well, let's go to the phones. We have a call coming in. Good morning. You're on Talkback.
Good morning. I'm not calling about the sports. Pineville Expressway is blocked.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, goodness. Thank you for letting us know. Which side?
From Highway 28 in, choose an alternate route to get downtown.
Thank you very much. So that's headed towards the Purple Heart Bridge from 28, you're saying. So there is probably a wreck somewhere around Louisiana College or the final exit.
Somewhere in that area. Okay. But anyway, didn't mean to interrupt your topic.
No, thank you.
The beauty of live radio is wonderful. Thank you so much for that.
Have a great day.
Thank you. You too. So yes, again, our caller just reported that the Pineville Expressway is, I don't know if it's shut down, but there's an incident there from Highway 28 coming into Alexandria. So you may want to look at an alternate.
Gridlock. That's right. Well, we got Tyler Unsicker with us, the athletic director for LSUA, and you talked about the girls going to the national championship. I think, was that in Tennessee?
Yeah, they were in McKenzie, Tennessee.
And so what I was so impressed with, they did lose. They made back the long trip, got to Alexandria like 30 minutes before the men played and came in and supported the men. Just the cohesiveness of the teams and how they support each other. When I'm there, you see the baseball team is there, the golf team is there, the tennis team is there. You guys have created an incredible small campus environment that feels bigger than what people think of LSUA.
Yeah, we have a great group of coaches, and we meet once a week and just talk about a lot of these things. And we've instituted different things we call general games, where each team picks one game and that we want the entire athletic department to come to. And so you get 175 kids out to each of your events, and most of them come out to most of them anyway, just because they enjoy being around. And we've really made an effort in some of our activities and events that we do as a group to kind of intermingle them, because it's so much easier just to hang out with my soccer friends and my tennis friends and my baseball friends that I'm on the team with, right? But I think we've continued to be able to branch out where these kids are interacting with different sports and getting those relationships. And one thing that I really appreciate about LSUA as well is we have a lot of international students. And so you may be a small town kid from DeVille, Louisiana, and you get to hang out with people from France and from Italy and from Germany, and to get that culture perspective, which is really unique for a town in the middle of Louisiana where you're probably not going to get a whole lot of that. So, and for me, I enjoy it. I actually speak Spanish, and so we have a lot of native Spanish speakers, and so I get to surprise them every once in a while and keep them on edge just so they make sure they're not talking about me or anybody else.
I love it. Well, athletics are huge, but academics is number one. And you guys achieved something this year that I think is just laudable in the GPA of your student athletes.
So, I mean, if we're going to be student athletes, right, it doesn't say athlete student, right? The first part is the student. And we've made great strides. One of our biggest things that we did when I first got here is we created a study hall area for our student athletes. We man it. We have a lot of tutors across campus. Our tutoring department's been fantastic, but we've really emphasized getting that GPA up as high as we can. And so always it's been about a 3.0 is kind of what the GPA goal has been. And so we've really pushed that over the last couple of years. And this last year, as a conference in the Red River Athletic Conference, they give whichever school has the highest GPA across the board for the whole department an award for the highest GPA. And we won that this last year with a 3.26 GPA, which is pretty incredible if you think across the 175 student athletes that they average a 3.26. And a shout out to our women's tennis team. They had a 3.9 average between all 10 of their student athletes.
So are a lot of them international students?
Most of them are.
Yeah, also.
I actually have played with them.
Is that right?
I play tennis, so they came to a couple of just sort of tennis clinics, sort of. We do Ash Tennis does a lot, and so they come out now. They're very kind because they are very good.
Right?
Yes, I realize my age and my skill when I'm on the court with them, and like I remember John and I played doubles against two of your women, and I think we got 2 points the whole match. But we were so proud of those darn 2 points that we scored against them.
Well, I met them at a Rotary meeting, and they had the tennis team had come in that particular day and was so impressed with the caliber of these folks who are attracted to LSUA from all over the world. And of course, the enrollment records, Dr. Carell tries to stay modest about it, but you guys have got to be prouder than peacocks over the enrollment numbers at LSUA.
He does do a fantastic job, and all of our senior leadership team, and they are so supportive of athletics. And sometimes you get into institutions where the upper administration doesn't fully understand the value of athletics, and Dr. Carell and his team have been so supportive of our efforts and our goals and what we're trying to accomplish. And I think as we have pushed the GPA and made an emphasis in our community service and getting out in the community, I think that, yes, it's great for athletics, and we want to be a good front porch for the university, but overall, it just adds to the value of our university having great athletics and enjoying that aspect of it. But the enrollment numbers have been fantastic, and I think it just goes to show all the hard work that everybody's been doing on campus. There's so many great things that are going on. We're adding programs, adding great facilities, and really just to support our community. And I think we're starting to see that from the community reciprocating back to LSUA.
Well, I attended the key presentation ceremony last week for the AC Buchanan building downtown, where the Allied Health Services is there. And you talk about recognizing, so Rapides Regional Medical Center has obviously recognized the value that LSUA brings in bringing nurses and medical technicians to the workforce. So donated the building that there's going to be some huge expansion on in the coming years.
Yeah, that building's been an incredible journey that they've been through, and how quick it's been. Usually, like in higher ed and in state policies, things don't happen as fast as they've done. But Dr. Carell's been incredible, and he's been. Sometimes I wonder if he didn't sell his house when he lived in Baton Rouge because he's there so much. But he's really been working everybody, and he's moved that project up, and looks like it's going to get funded. And there's some things, a few more hurdles to jump, but that's going to be a great asset to our community to be able to provide. But again, and even back to athletics, like this just helps us in recruiting, right? We have so many more options for our student athletes that come in to get different majors and be able to go back and support their communities once they graduate.
By far, the vast majority of your athletes are going to have to go into the workforce when they get through with their career. So to give them those options is wonderful.
For sure.
All right, well, let's take our first break, and we'll come back with more with Tyler Unseger, the athletic director of LSUA, right after this.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
This is Dr. Jonathan Hunter with the Clinics, where we pride
Yeah, so
ourselves
you and I
in
don't have
providing
the face
exceptional
that
care.
people
We offer a
don't
wide range
expect
of
us at all.
services, including primary care, family and chronic care, acute and urgent care, podiatry, and gastroenterology, along with an on-site plant and X-ray. Our new family medicine physician, Dr. Noah Miller, is accepting new patients. Same-day appointments are available, and most insurance and Medicare are accepted. The Clinics, 1587 North Bolton, 445-9823, online at theclinics.us.
My son loves to fly kite, but my active psoriatic arthritis can sometimes hold me back. Now with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, I'm ready to go. Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults, helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweat, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin
I
and better
deliver.
movement, and that means everything. Ask your
We
doctor about
used to could do
Skyrizi
that,
today
but
and
my
visit
3 oldest
Skyrizi.com
daughters.
or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Teens are using
We
social
weren't
media
good
to
then.
buy what they think
So
are
then we
prescription
couldn't,
pills,
and then we
like
adopted
Oxy,
2 kids from
Xanax,
Colombia,
or
South
Adderall.
America. Well,
But
they
these
spoke
pills are
Spanish,
actually
so
made with
we
a
lost
cheaper,
our edge of
stronger,
being able
and more
to
deadly synthetic called fentanyl. You cannot see it, smell
whatever
it,
the
or
stuff that we
taste
used
it.
to control.
Naloxone and fentanyl testing strips are available for free through many community service organizations to help prevent opioid overdose. Carry naloxone and know the signs
Right,
of an
that's
overdose.
right.
If you or a
So
loved
next
one
time
needs
I'm out
help,
there,
go to
you know, dust in something for your son,
opioidhelpla.org. Brought to you by the Louisiana
That is
Department
so
of Health.
cool.
For 75 years, the Muscular Dystrophy Association's voices have thundered through the halls of
Yeah.
Congress. For 75 years,
It's amazing how I've translated for the courts, for the police
For
departments.
75 years, the MDA community has
I don't
pushed
get
the
paid just for
science,
pilot.
shifted the narrative, and established the
So
field of
that's fine.
neuromuscular
And
medicine.
I'm happy to do
Until
it.
that day, when it's all a thing of the past, you couldn't stop us if you tried.
Join us and celebrate 75 years of breakthroughs at mda75.org.
If you'd like to take part in the show today, call the BOM Bank Talk line at 442-8255. That's 442-TALK. And remember, if you're looking to purchase or refinance your home, call Christina Bagwell at the BOM Bank Mortgage Department at 448-2430.
To take part in the show, call 442-8255. That's 442-TALK-970 AM. 104.9 FM. KSYO. Now back to Talkback.
And we're back. And again, joining Nathan and me in the studio is Tyler Unseger, who is the athletic director of LSU Alexandria. We talked a lot about the basketball season, but I know, and we started on tennis, but you're in the throes of tennis season, baseball, softball. So catch us up on what's happening.
Yeah, so this time of year is crazy. Basketball's wrapping up, baseball, softball, and tennis are all in full swing. So there's just a lot of things going on. This weekend we actually have, the rain's kind of putting a damper on this, but we're supposed to have baseball, softball, and tennis all at home this weekend. So the rain's not helping us out there. But our tennis team is off to a good start. They're really young. We graduated a lot of seniors last year, and they are getting better each and every week. And so they're still ranked in the top 25 and doing a great job. They're in the middle of their conference season and playing a lot of matches. So continue to improve there. Our baseball team is in the middle of the pack right now. They started off really hot, kind of slowed a little bit, but hopefully looking to get back into conference contention with them. And then our softball team's been incredible. They've only lost twice. They're like 26-2. They're ranked number 9 in the country right now. They just went on a big road trip and won beat a couple top 25 teams. And Coach Partridge and Coach Brandon do a really good job with the girls. And one of my favorite parts about my job is that I get to interact with young people, and we have a lot of great kids, and we joke that they all stay the same age and we keep getting older because they graduate and leave and they just bring the same age in. But just a lot of fun, just kids that enjoy life and work hard. And we, as we've talked about, we emphasize the student part, but they're also really good athletes. And so it's just a great experience to be around them and enjoy them throughout the year.
And then the other sport at LSUA is soccer. We don't want to shortchange them this morning. They had a great fall season and are playing a little spring ball right now.
They did. Our soccer teams had an incredible fall. The women's team lost in a shootout in the championship game to go to the NAI tournament, and then the men lost in the semifinals. They both had great seasons. Coach Hammond and Coach McKenzie Young do a great job with them, and a lot of our international kids come from our different soccer programs, but they're so involved on campus and in so many different aspects at our university that it really does infuse that international presence with our campus that I don't know if we intentionally did that when we brought these programs into LSUA 10, 11 years ago, but it's really been a welcomed addition to the university to have that flair of the international aspect. But they're in their spring season right now. They both play 3 or 4 games in the spring and get that experience as they prepare for their fall seasons.
Fantastic.
1 month from today, there's a big golf tournament taking place on today's March 25th, so April 25th.
Yeah,
that's links on the Bayou.
That kind of scared me when you say that. Comes up fast. Yes, we our annual links, our 14th annual LSUA GA golf tournament that's held at Links on the Bayou will be on Friday, April 25th at 1 o'clock. You can go to lsuagenerals.com to sign up for that, or send me an email at tunsicker@lsua.edu. And this is a really fun event. We have a lot of people come out, and our student athletes are out on the different holes doing different games with people that come and play. And so it's a great opportunity to interact with our coaches and our student athletes that sometimes people don't really get to do as much as they come out and watch them at the different events. And so it's one of my favorite events of the year, and I enjoy golfing, but I just enjoy having people be around our student athletes because they are so great, and they are really the secret sauce that makes everything so great at LSUA is our student athletes.
Absolutely. And then your signature fundraiser is coming up September 23rd. Tell us.
Yes, we're super excited about this. We recently got word from our guest this year that will be Simone Augustus. She is the former LSU great women's basketball player that's been inducted into the Hall of Fame, and she's just very charismatic and going to be a great speaker and a great guest that we're going to have that. And so we do this in partnership with the LSUA Foundation board and the Generals Athletic Association board, and I think this is year 5.
And it's called Shrimp Jam. We did not say that.
Shrimp Jam, yes. It's great. We have shrimp, and we have great guests, and it's just a really fun night. It's a Tuesday on September 23rd, and it's just a really fun event, and our community has really rallied around this event and come out, and the foundation and board and our GAA board do a great job of putting that on, and I'm really looking forward to that event again this year.
And as I recall, it has sold out a couple years.
Yeah, we've had, some of the great, we've had Kim Mulkey, Jay Johnson, had some really incredible guests, and each year it just progressively has gotten better. And so we do so many great events in San Law, but this is just really one that I think people have really rallied around. And again, this money goes to support our foundation and support our student athletes, and is a big boost to all the things that we're trying to accomplish at LSUA.
We talked about the golf tournament coming up. What's the status of the golf course at LSUA?
Yeah, so many exciting things going on with LSUA that there's growth, right? And with growth comes challenges, and they're very exciting challenges. And so the golf course has been a great asset to our area and to the university. But with that growth, we have space issues. And so our housing has been so full the last 3 or 4 years. We've had a wait list of 100 to 150 the last couple of years. And we've even lost out on some students because we don't have any housing. So we're going to be partnering with some private entities to build some apartment complexes and hopefully kind of revitalize that area and get some other retail and stuff out there. But over the next month or 2, that golf course will be unfortunately going away, but definitely for a good cause to continue to build the university.
Maybe have a big blowout the final week. Everybody come get their last round in.
Yeah, that's right.
Get their money paid.
That's right.
Well, exciting stuff at LSUA. Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for joining us today. Pleasure to have you in the studio, and we'll take our bottom of the hour break. And when we come back, we will have Paul Fuselier from Acadian Ambulance.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics
Great
with
job,
27 providers and 3 locations.
Smooth that right
Someone
into
can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute.
And,
what will happen to the genetic information from some 15 million Americans? It could be sold to the highest bidder. Now that 23andMe has filed for bankruptcy and proposed a May 14th auction for the DNA testing firm's assets. Futures point to a higher open for Wall Street this morning after stocks turned in one of their best sessions of the year, with signs that U.S. tariffs will be narrower than feared. The Dow rose 1.4%, or nearly 600 points. The S&P 500 jumped by 1.75%, and the Nasdaq surged by just over 2.25%. And United Airlines says it's made another investment in its Houston hub. The airline said it broke ground on a new ground service equipment maintenance facility at George Bush Intercontinental Airport. It also opened a new state-of-the-art technical operations training center. United says that since 2015, it's invested $3.5 billion at the airport. Gina Cervetti, Bloomberg Radio.
Louisiana's moving forward. Crime
All
rates
right.
are tumbling. Education.
We're getting talking points from
Governor Landry announced the largest jobs and economic growth project in Louisiana history. $10+ billion private sector dollars. Now we keep Louisiana moving forward with a yes vote on Amendment 2, March 29th. Amendment 2 permanently lowers the maximum income tax rate. It pays down debt and gives our teachers a permanent salary increase. It keeps the homestead exemption and exemptions for religious organizations. Amendment 2 doubles the senior citizen tax deduction. And Amendment 2 builds on Governor Landry's efforts stopping unneeded spending with a permanent government growth limit. Let's keep Louisiana moving forward by voting yes on Amendment 2.
Cumulative.
Paid for by Make Louisiana Great Again.
Right.
Hey, Louisiana. It's time to volunteer for Keep Louisiana Beautiful's annual Love the Boot Week, the state's largest litter cleanup and beautification event. Every effort, large or small, creates a lasting impact. So let's join the movement to make Louisiana a cleaner and greener place to call home. Love the Boot Week takes place April 5th through 13th. Sign up to volunteer or organize an event at lovetheboot.org. Brought to you by the Office of the Lieutenant Governor and Keep Louisiana Beautiful.
We're wanting some areas of fog to start us out this morning. That'll burn off quickly. It looks like a good day. Partly cloudy skies. 86 for the afternoon high. Winds will be light and variable. Now tonight, clear skies down to 59 for the overnight low. And our Wednesday, mixture of sunshine and clouds, but not bad. Afternoon highs near 81 degrees. Looks like cloudy skies for us on Thursday. And that's your forecast from the Senlaw Broadcasting Weather Center. I'm Dave Gratian. Currently 63 degrees in Senlaw.
Now back to Talkback, 970 AM, 9 FM, KSYO.
And welcome back. Sandra McQueen, Nathan Martin, and joining us in the studio is Paul Fuselier, who is the Director of Government Relations with Acadian Ambulance. Paul, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you here. So let's do this first. Let's kind of level set a little bit. The community probably has heard of Acadian Ambulance, maybe doesn't know a little bit about the corporate story. So tell us a little bit about the business.
Well, we started in 1971, so we're over 53 years old. We were founded by 3 members. And then at some point in time in the 1990s, 2 of the founders decided that they were going to get out of EMS. And our CEO, Richard Zuslog, who recently passed away, decided that he wanted to make our company employee-owned. So we became 80% employee-owned. And unfortunately, he passed away, but one of the things that he wanted to do for us in that time was make us 100% employee-owned, and that's what we are now.
Wow.
Through his vision, we are 100% employee-owned, and we've been here in Rapides Parish since 1995.
So you came to Rapides Parish when there was a decision by the police jury to look for a professional ambulance provider. The then current provider, as I recall, was owned by the 2 hospitals, if I remember right. Do you remember that? Is that what it was? The Rapides and Cabrini owned Senlaw Ambulance Service, I think it was.
there was some kind of collaboration there, I think, with Sen Ambulance Service, yes, sir. And they decided they wanted out of ambulance service. So that's when we came in and we were able to contract with the parish to start providing EMS services.
So has your contract, was it an auto renewal, or have you had to go through a competitive process like this every so many years during your history?
Well, it was auto renewed, but always had the option to go through a competitive process. I think that's where we ended up at this year, was that, you know, after you've been in a contract for so many years, it's good to take a step back and take a look at things. And so this year, the police jury decided to put out an RFP and allow other companies to come in, as well as Acadian, and say, hey, what can you do for Rapides Parish and its citizens?
All right, so through that process, there was an ambulance committee that the parish appointed, and there were, I guess, two scoring elements to that. One was the actual, I guess, scoring of the RFP, which Pafford won by about 1% of the vote, and then there was the committee did a roundtable about who would be your choice, and Acadian won that vote. But the recommendation to the parish, as I understand it, was to go with Pafford. So but the process now is under reconsideration. Can you kind of tell us what your understanding is of where things are?
Yes, the scoring of the RFP came out, like you say, less than 1% between Acadian and Pafford. That recommendation was sent to the police jury, but along with the recommendation, exactly what you said, is 7 members of the committee scored Acadian Ambulance highest. Two members scored Pafford highest, and then a third member scored Med Express.
And weren't there 4 that provided RFPs?
4 provided RFPs, yes, sir. And it went to the police jury, and the police jury decided with that close a vote to send it back to the ambulance committee for them to take another look at the 2 companies that came out on top. And at that point, we received both companies, Pafford and Acadian, received some information, some questions from the ambulance committee chairman. And there were 5 questions. One was, provide your financial statements. We want to see, you know, how financially stable is your company. Mm-hmm. Number 2 was they wanted to know, within a 100-mile radius of Rapides Parish, how many ambulances do you have? Another question was, within a 100-mile radius, how many paramedics do you have who are capable of providing advanced life support? Then they asked about ambulances and paramedics within the state of Louisiana. So they were looking at total numbers of resources and paramedics that can be provided to Rapides Parish. And I can only assume the questions were for if something really, really huge and major should happen here, what can they look for in obtaining resources and help?
So let me ask you if I can...
So wait a minute, that was just 4 questions. So it was financial statements, 100-mile radius, ambulances, 100-mile radius, paramedics, ambulance paramedics in the state, and what was the 5th?
That was the 2.
Oh, those 2 questions.
Okay.
They split up the ambulances and paramedics.
Okay. Sorry, Nathan, go
No,
ahead.
that's good. I also noted it before about, that's a good point, the ambulance and paramedic separate questions.
Right.
So if we can step back a little bit, there's a lot of discussion about the question of single provider versus multiple provider. And I said, when we promoted this earlier, my understanding was that the majority of those who offered RFPs said they would only come with a sole provider contract because just of the economies of scale, it's difficult to bring all of the resources that RFP requires if you're only going to be on a rotational basis. Am I close? Is that kind of the mindset, or what's the reasoning for a sole provider in a community our size?
You hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what it is. And you're right that 3 out of the 4 services that did provide RFPs were for a sole provider system. The amount of resources it takes, and especially with the new RFP, it was stepped up quite a bit. So in order to be able to provide what the new RFP calls for, immense amount of resources, immense amount of staff, and just a whole bunch of other things that the sole provider gives you the opportunity as a company to be able to financially make that and do it. And that was the first thing that the ambulance committee did. They talked about sole provider versus multi-provider. and made the decision that they were going to go with the sole provider.
I thought that was actually part of the process.
Right.
So I want to continue that conversation, but we need to take a break.
Talkback is sponsored by the clinics with
I meant to pass it
27
back to you.
providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today.
Yeah.
Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
The value of experienced leadership cannot be overstated in the clerk of court's office. Progressing through the ranks, Karen
I'd love to ask you
most
to come
qualified to be the next clerk
like
of court
you just
for
mentioned that
Rapides
RFP
Parish.
stepped up.
With 37 years of
What would be the difference?
service,
of
I
the
am
RFP
dedicated to
versus
safeguarding our elections, keeping crucial evidence safe, and streamlining access to public documents both online and in person. I'd be honored to have your vote.
Acadian
What's clearly working? Karen, our clerk of court.
Paid for by Karen Curley for Clerk of Court.
Attention all real estate agents, property owners, and lenders. When you or a client needs a real estate attorney, call the professionals at Thompson Law Firm. Whether the legal matter is basic or complex, the Thompson Law Firm can accurately guide you or your client to a successful outcome. That's why numerous industry professionals have trusted the Thompson Law Firm for years. They also handle estate planning, successions, and business law. Call them at 473-0052. I am a paid non-client attorney spokesperson.
Sinla Broadcasting is local, so we promote the local.
Beneath the canopy of mighty
Remember, y'all had big
towering
drives
cypress trees and
years
colorful
ago, and I just
bamboos,
don't hear much
discover over
anymore.
500 remarkable animals from
I think
all over the world. The
100%.
Alexandria Zoo is the
I
area's
want to ask you about
largest
that
year-round
too. How
family
does
attraction.
an employee
Come
become an
explore a
owner?
natural world
And don't
filled
answer
with
me now.
hoots,
Let's
howls,
save
and
the
roars.
questions for the
Right here
on
in the
air. But
heart
just
of
let me know
central
where I was going to go
Louisiana.
with that.
Learn more
Because
about it or
if I want a
volunteer.
second job, then I want to know how long we get before I get to be an owner.
This has been a public service reminder from Sinla
I
Broadcasting.
tell you that I know that was a big loss.
low vision, eyesight changing, you are not alone. Connecting with blind and low vision people can provide support and expand your understanding of what is possible. We are making our own choices every day, but we are also stronger together. To learn more, visit us on the web at blind.org. The National Federation of the Blind. Live the life you want.
Hey, Joe, I thought you were retired.
Living on a fixed income is
Oh,
tough.
Nelly.
So here I am, an essential worker.
I know. I mean, food prices are going up every day.
She is my
Thank goodness
hero.
for
She's my hero.
benefitscheckup.org.
Benefits what?
Benefitscheckup.org. It's a
You
free
have helped me
website
many,
where
many
people over
times.
60 can find help to pay for food, medicine, even utilities. I got $1,200 a year in benefits. Maybe it can help you.
Do you have a drug problem? Do you want to stop? Well, there are folks who can help. Call Narcotics Anonymous at 1-585-DON'T-USE or visit their website at larna.org for more information.
All right.
970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO. To take part in the show, call 442-8255. That's 442-TALK.
And we're back. Sandra and Nathan joined in the studio by Paul Fuselier, who is the head of government relations here for Acadian Ambulance. And now we're going to go to the phones. Good morning. You're on Talkback.
Yes, I had a question. The ambulance committee, they're the ones that decided that it would only be a sole provider, not the providers. I'm curious of that.
Well, it was kind of two-part. The 4 companies that were interested in the RFP were asked, are you for multiple providers or sole providers? And 3 out of the 4 stated that they were for sole providers during this process. Then the committee did their due diligence between multiple providers. They heard from the public. They heard from other elected officials from around other areas. And they made the decision to stay with what Rapides Parish had had for many, many years as a sole provider. First step in the process. Then the second step went to the RFP.
So my second question is, would y'all have stayed if it would not have been a sole provider and been part of the competition that would have been here? Is that a...
No, that's a fair question. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as a representative of the company, I'm going to tell you we would have stayed. But what we would have been able to do would have changed drastically.
Yeah, I understand that. Cool. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for your call. Let's go to the phones. Good morning. You're on Talkback.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, how's it going? So I just got a quick question. So with the complaints of the extended response times for 911 calls, what's Acadian doing to remedy this, and what are they going to do in the future to stop having 20 and 30-minute response times within the city limits of Alexandria and Pineville?
All right, thank you for your call, caller.
We, speaking specifically, of Acadian, we number one in the RFP process. Well, let me start back. The biggest issue for any EMS service since COVID has been staffing, and very, very difficult to get employees to come on board. And ALS staffing especially was huge.
ALS is advanced life support.
That's the paramedic level, is the highest level. So what we did over the last 4 years or so since COVID is really put our efforts into training EMTs, training paramedics. And that was what was going to enable us to meet the requirements of the RFP. And we are in that direction now. You will never get rid of long responses. That is the nature of what we live in. And I use the example as, if you have 10 ALS ambulances available, you're going to get 13 calls. So you're going to have some long responses, but we are working on staffing. We're working on increasing resources so that we can meet the needs of the new RFP and improve. The RFP called for what will you do to give the best response times for the majority of the people in Rapides Parish, and we're looking forward to being able to do that.
All right, thank you, caller. Appreciate your question. What you mentioned, Paul, the difference between the current level of contract and the RFP new. Can you remember off the top of your head what that is? It number of ambulances? Is it response time? Is that part of the question? Because we were not part of the conversation, so we don't know.
The current contract does not have a stipulation for a number of ambulances. It has a stipulation for response time criteria.
Okay.
And that's in different zones across the parish that you have to meet the response time in those zones 80% of the time. I'm proud to say that we have not missed that in any zone since we've been under this contract. Now, what has the new contract done? Well, they stepped up the 80% to 90%, which is going to be a challenge.
That's a hurdle. Yeah.
Absolutely. And they've also increased what we call the 8-minute zone just a little to include a few corridors, which is they asked us about it and we were fine with that.
Now tell us, when you say 8-minute zone, what is that?
There's an 8-minute zone around Pineville and Alexandria in the new RFP process. Then there's a 12-minute zone, and then there's a 20-minute zone for the rest of the parish.
This is all based on population, I'm sure.
Yes, population, rural areas, and population is the biggest thing. You're going to have the most calls where the most population is congregated.
Yeah. So, well, we were hearing from, or you and I talked about you mentioned the employee ownership, and it's at 100%. How does an employee become an owner? Is that on day one? Is it 90 days? Is it you've been there a year? Tell us a little bit about that. That certainly, I would think, would make the employees very proud of their company.
They come on board, they get hired, and all they have to do is participate in the 401k savings plan that we have. If they participate in that 401k savings plan, just by coming to work, showing up, doing your job, the company gives them stock every year.
Wow.
So it's not very hard to become an employee owner.
Very good. Let me circle back around to training. I know we have a call. We'll take a break. Let me ask this one question, then we'll probably take that break and get our call. The training, in the last few years, there's been either EMS or EMT education at the high school level. Is Acadian involved in that program, or is that something that y'all been called upon to participate in?
Yes, the state of Louisiana decided that they were looking at two different tracks, a college track and then an other track. There are some kids that in high school are not going to go to college. Sure. So we support that absolutely. And one of the pieces of that track is an EMS, emergency medical responder, and an EMT track. And we support those. We help the schools here locally that have those programs. We provide resources. We provide assistance in training and those kind of things. That's how we get our future employees. If they're interested and we can get them that interest to stick, then we think that they're going to come to work for us and make us good employees. You know, your best employees are your local people that stay and take care of their communities.
Absolutely. Well, why don't we go ahead and take that break, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Acadian Ambulance right after this.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics with 27 providers and 3 locations. Someone can see you today. Stick around. More of Talkback is on the way.
Your teeth are in need of a little dental work, but you're putting it off. Why?
Employee
You
18
can't
to
stand
21.
the thought of wearing old-timey
So kids who
adhesive-filled
graduate
dentures.
have some
Is
basic
it the high
training
cost
in high
of
school.
dental implants? Or is it just the concept of having a dentist poking around inside your mouth? Whatever your reason, today's Dental in Pineville has it covered. And with hundreds of smiling, satisfied patients, they've made getting implants amazingly simple.
Well, kids can walk out. He
Anxiety
can the day
and
after
affordable
graduation
for
go to work
everyone.
if he's
And with calming
stuff
in-office
took his test
IV
with him.
sedation administered by a highly skilled certified nurse anesthetist, your anxiety will all but slip away. Plus, their multiple finance options make implants truly affordable. So why wait? If you're looking to replace your old-timey denture with permanent implants, give today's dental on Highway 28 East in Pineville a
person
call
could be
at
hired to be a
448-4540.
EMT,
It's a
but not a
general
driver.
dental
Is that
facility
possible,
owned
or
by Dr.
you don't
Jonas
all be
Goche.
drivers?
448-4540.
I'm in Louise. I know. I'm sorry.
Got a big day ahead of you? Then it's best to fuel up with some of Sinlaw's best at Mercado's restaurant. Walk right in and just smell that home-style cooking.
Okay.
Place your order, take a seat, and do breakfast right till 9:30 this morning. Get fresh biscuits, eggs any way you like them, melt in your mouth pancakes, grits, hash browns, sausage, bacon, even wraps and sandwiches. And don't forget their fresh brewed coffee. Mercado's Restaurant, 28 West, right across from the Coliseum. Your breakfast is waiting for you.
We got
Now,
it
is
going on
BLS,
here
is
in
that more
Senlaw.
transport?
Don't miss Spring Ug Day, Arts
Versus-
and Crafts Festival in
Yeah.
Yorkville.
The
Saturday,
nursing-
April 5th.
nursing homes
Historic
and-
Kent Plantation House
Yeah,
hosts
doc-
its
yeah.
annual Sinlaw
Y'all
favorite.
do
Packed full
pickups
of
for doctor's
plants,
visits?
shopping, and food vendors. Get details at kenthouse.org.
Wednesday evening, April 16th, the Arts Council of Central Louisiana presents Cirque Mechanics Pedal Punk at Coughlin Saunders. Pedal Punk is a steampunk-inspired acrobatic experience of excitement, artistry, and thrills. Get your tickets today.
Lace up your running shoes, grab your strollers and wagons, and join us for the Lauren Bond Memorial 5K Run Walk on Saturday, April the 19th. All proceeds benefit the Lauren Bond Memorial Scholarship at NSU. Get the details at lv5k.com.
Saturday, April 26th,
Well, I know-
is Earth Day at the Alexandria Zoo. Let's team up to protect our planet. Enjoy keeper chats, activities, crafts, and demonstrations. Get the details at thealexandriazoo.com.
Sinlaw Broadcasting, keeping
No, I mean,
Central Louisiana alive
Well, I
and
knew that
local.
there was somebody who knew
There's
something
no better
about it,
description
but
than to
tell
say
me.
St. Jude is a place of hope. My name is Lindsay. I'm alive today because of this incredible hospital and the generosity of so many who wanted to support it. Finding cures.
Oh, he's a big old fellow.
Children. Learn more at
There's three testicles I think
stjude.org.
that one fire department
Now back to Talkback, 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO.
And I have to punch the button. All right, we are back. Again, joining us in the studio is Paul Fuselier, who is the Director of Government Relations for Acadian Ambulance in this area. So, Paul, you mentioned when you first joined us, there were 5 additional questions. They have come back to you as Acadian and Pafford to answer. Were those questions not part of the original RFP? Because I would think the 100-mile radius questions would have been pretty relevant, as well as the financial stability of the two companies.
The financials were part of the RFP. The other 4 questions were incorporated in various parts of it, but I think what they wanted to come back to was be more specific with that radius and those numbers. In the RFP, you were able to tell how many paramedics you would have to man the resources in the parish, but I think they're looking to get extended outside of the parish. One of the main problems that we're facing today in it happened just recently in our area in Mamou, Louisiana, for Mardi Gras Day.
Mm-hmm.
The little town of Mamou has one ambulance, but during that event, they had 10 ambulances and 2 helicopters with multiple supervisors that were able to respond. And I think that's some of what they may be looking for when they're looking at the radius around Rapides Parish. If something catastrophic would happen, what can we look to get to help our people?
And I would think, I mean, honestly, with Lafayette being your headquarters less than 100 miles away, I would assume that the answer to that question certainly favors you all. I mean, I would think you have the majority of the ambulances in a 100-mile radius.
Well, one of the things that we try to do as a company is make our service areas contiguous. And that's important because one area can help service another area. If something catastrophic would happen here in Rapides, we would start pulling up. Now, we don't pull out of an area and leave them high and dry, but we start shifting resources south, up, north, so that we can get the immediate response here and then backfill as we move along. So having those contiguous areas here in Louisiana is important, and it helps us to do that.
Absolutely. Well, let's try to grab one more call before the end of the show. Caller, we've got only a couple minutes, so we'll ask you to make it quick.
Yeah, I thought an independent source said that a study was done and that it was recommended we have 2 ambulance providers in Rapides area, Rapides Parish and surrounding areas. And I also wondered why you only take people to one hospital and refuse to take them to others if so they request. And I'll hang up.
Thank you.
Well, I'm not familiar with a source other than the ambulance committee that made the recommendation for sole provider. And on hospital choice, it is Acadian Ambulance's policy that the patient's choice is always honored unless their condition warrants that they go to a closer hospital for stabilization, or if they have a special condition such as they're having a STEMI, heart attack, that needs to go to a cath lab.
Mm-hmm.
So we will transport them directly to that cath lab versus going to a closer hospital or a smaller hospital, if you will, because what they need is advanced care. And you save patient's heart, patient's brain by going to where that advanced care is. So our number one policy, though, is we take people to the hospital of their choice. Now, there are other pieces to that. When hospitals get very, very busy, sometimes we go on diversion and things like that that might hamper where the patient initially might have wanted to go, but some of those things are out of our control.
Well, Rapides is a trauma center. You also, as you mentioned, the diversion issue. I think Cabrini has some of the pediatric specialties through the Children's Medical Network. So y'all do take into consideration the need of the patient, especially if the patient's not responsive. You got to make a decision for them based on the need that they have. It sounds like.
Yes, and those are the situations where the patient's condition will dictate where they go. And listen, one other thing, Louisiana has the LEARN network. It's the Louisiana Emergency Response Network. We are obligated as a provider to call them, and they know all the hospital's capabilities, and they direct us to what that specialty hospital might be. And I want to say on the 2 hospitals here in Alexandria, absolutely phenomenal. And even when both hospitals are swamped and busy and everything is going haywire, we work extremely well together to try to make sure we can mitigate and help them to mitigate and move patients around and get them to where they need to be.
Well, I'm not trying to negate the caller's point, but I have seen your ambulances at both of them frequently. I go to both hospitals quite a bit in my other role. I'm not aware of the study he referred us to about the recommendation for multiple providers, and if he wants to send that to Sandra or Al or me,
And I think didn't Alexandria look at a single or multi-provider as well as there's been discussions in both legislative bodies, or am I remembering that wrong?
A couple of years ago, Alexandria had considered multiple providers, but that did not go.
That may be what he's thinking of. So, all right, well, the music is on. Paul, thank you for coming in. We know it's a tough decision for the parish, but I'm sure I trust that committee. They will do a good job assessing the additional responses and help guide the jury in making a great decision.
Yeah. Appreciate you stepping up.
Thank you for having me.
And tomorrow it is the Al and Trish show.
That's right.
All right. We'll be off tomorrow. You guys have a great day.
Bye. Excellent, sir. Well, I have no idea what he's talking about. I think maybe so.
You've been listening to Talkback.